woman reported being gang assaulted on a bus in India. Within days, she was dead. What happened after changed the country.
In December 2012, a 23-year-old physiotherapy student named Jyoti Singh boarded a private bus in New Delhi with a male friend after watching a movie. What followed is one of the most brutal crimes in recent history. But what makes this case still worth discussing is not just the violence, but everything that came after. They were found by passers-by and taken to a hospital. Despite severe injuries, she was conscious for some time and was able to give a statement to police, which became a key piece of evidence in identifying the attackers. As news of the crime spread, it triggered something that had been building for years. Public outrage in India reached a level that is rarely seen. Protests broke out across New Delhi and other cities. Thousands of people took to the streets, demanding justice, accountability, and changes to laws surrounding sexual violence. The case moved quickly through the system compared to most. The suspects were identified and arrested within days. 5 of them were tried as adults. 1 was a juvenile at the time. Jyoti Singh was later transferred to a hospital in Singapore due to the severity of her injuries, but she died on December 29. The legal process that followed became just as controversial as the crime itself. 4 of the adult attackers were sentenced to death. 1 of the accused died in prison before the trial concluded, officially ruled a suicide, though some questioned that finding. The juvenile was given the maximum sentence allowed under Indian law at the time, which was 3 years in a reform facility. That outcome sparked a different kind of anger. Many people felt the punishment for the juvenile did not match the severity of the crime. Others argued that the law, as it stood, had been followed correctly, and that changing it retroactively would set a dangerous precedent.
The executions of the 4 convicted men did not take place until 2020, after years of appeals and legal delays. By then, the case had already reshaped public conversation in India around women's safety, policing, and the justice system. Laws were amended. Fast-track courts were introduced for sexual assault cases. Penalties for certain crimes were increased. On paper, it looked like change had happened, but more than a decade later, the debate has not really gone away. Some argue that the case led to meaningful reform and brought global attention to an issue that had long been ignored or minimized. Others argue that while the case was highly publicized, many similar crimes still do not receive the same level of attention or urgency, especially in rural areas. There is also the uncomfortable question of whether extreme punishment, like the death penalty in this case, actually acts as a deterrent, or whether it simply satisfies public demand for justice in the moment. Another point that continues to come up is how quickly this case moved compared to others. Was it justice working efficiently, or was it pressure forcing the system to act differently than it normally would? The case is often remembered for its brutality, but the reason it still gets discussed is because it sits at the intersection of crime, law, public pressure, and systemic change. It forces a broader question that doesn't have an easy answer. When a case becomes this big, are we seeing justice at its best, or a system reacting under pressure in a way that might not be consistent across all cases? And if the same crime happened today without the same level of media attention, would the outcome look the same? You know, there are some details in this story that really bother me. Before we get to what other Reddit users think, what moment struck you as the strangest? Was there a clear red flag that everyone missed? Mukesh Singh, in an interview, blamed both of the victims. He said her friend should have protected her better. Also, she shouldn't have been out at night in the first place. No remorse. Truly despicable. Oh, honey. A lawyer for one of the defendants, could have been Mukesh Singh for all I know, stated the same thing in a documentary about the case, not in defense of his client
or in court. In a documentary about how Jyoti's murder galvanized a nation of women to speak out and demand justice, a lawyer whom you would think would be, educated and therefore somewhat rational, argued that good girls didn't go out at that time of night and certainly didn't get on public transportation if they had no other choice but to be out at that time. And he concluded with stating that she was looking for what happened to her. A lawyer.
Indian here. I was 11 when it happened. Literally everyone wanted those men to be executed. Shit still boils my blood.
Okay, but who TF was driving that bus? The driver, Ram Singh, was involved in the assault. He was the man who died in prison.
The driver was part of the assault? Every time I learn more, my head wants to explode that much more.
Why is he not shown in the photo or included in the articles about this case? I'm not attacking you. Ocarina of Times' question was going through my mind the whole time I was reading about this. Also, there were 6th accused too, but he was a 17-year-old minor, so he got only 3 years of juvenile jail or something.
Don't look up the details of this case. It's worse than you imagine. Agreed. One of the worst I've read about. Horrifying that one of the perpetrators is out free.
In our country, she was named as Nirbhaya. I would like to say that this case didn't really change anything, because years later, when another brutal happened to a female doctor in Kolkata, victim was named as Abaya. Her rapists were protected by the state government itself, and everything was covered up.
I had heard about this case, but was not aware it was covered up. Make me understand how the people were okay with this. India is the biggest democracy in the world.
We wish it changed the country. Things are still pretty much the same. The one good event of 2020 was when the accused were executed. I woke up at 4 a.m. to watch the live telecast of the news from outside the prison. What happened to the juvenile? Did he get released after 3 years?
Sadly, yes, and he was provided a new identity by the government to protect his privacy, and at the moment, he's well integrated in the society, somewhere in an unknown location. From what I've read from the reports, he was in fact the most brutal one.
I was about to comment with my hopes for him, but I don't want to get banned. But let's all send that energy out for him, because I'm certain people here are thinking the same. Yeah, that's someone who will 1000% re-offend. Hopefully someday he'll get what he's owed.
Information about that absolute POS has leaked. I dearly hope he gets what's coming to him.